doing a little something different. I will be streaming across YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. So I just want to see how that's working. Bear with me for a second. Just want to make sure it's actually working. So yeah. So it looks like YouTube is down. Twitch is up. And it looks like Facebook is up, so just YouTube is down. Why is YouTube down? Stream key, perhaps? Okay, it looks like YouTube is up. Crazy, so all three are running at once, as far as I know. And I have a chat box running. So this is Rehearsal, as I will be just rehearsing, right? That's what a rehearsal is. Okay, so from here, I want to make a title card. So actually, I don't even know what the pages say. Okay, I need to change a few things. Twitch is wrong. I don't know how to change that. And Facebook. I'm not even sure how. Not even sure what Facebook reads as. Okay. Wonderful technical difficulties. Beginner streamer. How do I manage this? Edit live video. Keyframe too low. The current keyframe is too low. Recommended frames. Whatever. Okay, I don't need a million tips. Just need to change the title. I guess I can't. Well, so back to making a title card. This is 5. How does that read on YouTube generally? So yeah, it looks like the whole documentation chunk gets cut out. And then we go using custom graphics. It's quite a long title. Big title cards. And my micrometer's not working, which says that it is. Mic check, or whatever. Hope it's working. Too many dots here. Okay. So using custom graphics, I need some custom graphics. So during this rehearsal, I suppose we'll be also looking at using Knobman to develop some custom graphics. Knobman here. Up, I'm just going to throw a shortcut on my desktop. Shortcut. So that during the actual event I will be able to do it properly. Do I need a window perhaps? God, I got so many things open. This, no, I don't. And I could that. Need those. Alright, so this part will be done already. This is all unscripted. Of course, this is also rehearsal. So getting right into the desktop. Right. Okay, so Knobman. From here, actually I need a second to dig out the templates. Alright, so generally, to start it off, the SynthEdit skins are in the C drive users and they are under public. So we'll go into public and we go into public pictures documents. And then under SynthEdit projects, skins, and here is all the skins that are contained in SynthEdit. So just quickly starting up a new project here. We'll go with synth minimal. Hop right in there. Oops. Of course, there is nothing for controls here. However, if there was, we would right click and go to skin and select a skin. Now these are, as I said here, public documents, SynthEdit project skins is matching. And if you, when you bring in a new skin, you have to shut down and restart FL in order for your new skin to load. So I'm just going to take default, we'll Control C, Control V, and we'll call this minimal. Alright, and inside this file we have all of our raster graphics, all of our bitmaps, and alongside them we have a text file that describes how these graphics are used. I'll get into more of that in a second. There's also a main file called global.txt. Now this has a layout for fonts, and yeah, just fonts. There was more to that, but I guess not. Right, and within the fonts, I'm just going to give you a BRB screen and pull up the SynthEdit wiki here. In the SynthEdit wiki, I have a section here, documentation, and here is all of the default visuals from the global text. So this is just the fonts, and that didn't really help any. So they are exact namings. When you want to name something inside of SynthEdit, you have to follow that exact naming scheme. And of course you can do your own fonts. However, this isn't specifically the fonts, we're looking at doing custom graphics, which brings us back to Knobman. However, before I jump into Knobman, I want to look at the specifics of a default. Move knob small. What does that one look like? Just the regular, there's knob medium. Okay, so this is how a graphic file is laid out, a raster. It's pretty much the one graphic moving through is stitched. It's called stitched, and it's vertically stitched. So each stage of the graphic is stepping. And the text file here, knob medium, determines type animated, frame size 32 by 32, most response rotary. So rotary is actually, I don't believe that's a very good one. This should actually be, I can't remember. It's been a while since I've used rasters. I'm going to look at the slider here for a second. Horizontal, okay. So I think it's vertical. Everything should be vertical. Modern synths and stuff, they all respond vertical. So I'm just going to, as this is a new one, I'm going to change this to vertical. Maybe just all lowercase. And our frame size is 32 by 32. So I'm going to save. And then we get over there, head back to Knobman. And we're going to go. And Knobman as well is on the internet for free. I will include a link in the description on YouTube. Twitch doesn't matter. Facebook also doesn't matter. I mean, I can include it on Facebook, however, I don't feel I'll be backing up videos on Facebook. So I need to look at the properties here, preferences here though. So our frame size is 32 by 32. And we have how many stages? Let's go back over here and we'll look at this, count them all. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So you can use whatever graphics program you want. Knobman is just a bit simpler and almost pretty much catered to SynthEdit. Preview frame, is it 5? 5 is fine. Export as a stitched image. Duration, I don't believe matters. Background color, you can set that if you want. So, like I said, you can use the free software such as GIMP or even just Paint Shop. MS Paint, whatever. But you have to fight with things like stitched images, and yeah, it's preference to have some sort of utility or tool to do stuff like this. So we're just going to start out with a sphere. I'll make something similar to what's already there. And we'll go with a blue sphere. Kind of try to copy what's already there, like I said. Go for a little bit lighter. And we're not going to really get into it. I mean, there's all of these functions here within Knobman, but this isn't a tutorial for Knobman, or a documentation of Knobman's functions. This is just a quick, let's throw something together and demonstrate how to get it into SynthEdit. So I'm just going to turn the specular here, just to give an example. Some shininess, some diffuse, like direction, specular width. There's all sorts of stuff going on here in bows. So it's a pretty interesting tool, to say the least. However, it is only raster. These are only bitmaps, what's coming out here. So we got our background layer. Now we need something that will change as we edit the knob. Of course, we don't need layer 3, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Layer 2, I want a line, I suppose, just something simple. So you can see we have like a little line here now. And a little bit thicker, actually a little white. It's really dull. Maybe a little thicker, yeah. How thick can we go? Okay, so not that thick. Maybe 25. And length is fine. Zoom, offset, rotation, colors, mask, specular, outer shadow, inner shadow, edge highlight. So right now I want rotation. And now we want to keyframe this sort of thing. So, let's see if I can remember how to do that. Angle, I believe? Yeah, okay. So this is where we want to start. Start somewhere around here. Let's say maybe 180. And we'll put another 45. So it would be like, what, 135? Somewhere, okay. So now, we go standard. Linear, I suppose, and then we're going to push this to plus 135. Okay, so now you can see that the knob is moving, and so we'll test, and now we can wiggle and see what we got going on here. So that's 25 frames. Back to preview. Of course, that's just the 5, right? If I go into preferences and turn this up to 25, we can see every frame. So there's every step of it. However, just using regular 5 here is decent enough to get an idea of how the graphic is moving. So now that that's done, I'm going to save as, well actually I'm just going to save the knob file first. I'll throw that right on the desktop again. And we'll call that, what is it called inside? Knob medium, so I'm just going to call that knob medium. Knob medium.knob. The knob file extension type is for Knobman itself. So I'll save that there. And then I'll pull out a export image. Right, quick Knobman medium PNG. I'll save. Alright. So I'm going to throw up a BRB and just check stuff in the background here. Where's my BRB screen look funny? Alright. That's interesting. Okay, so let's get rid of that giant chat box. Okay, there we go. Using custom graphics 1. How many of these am I going to have? Alright, so what do I need to do here? I'm just trying to limit exposure to internal stuff in my computer, like privacy stuff, for privacy reasons. Alright, so I can hop back onto the desktop now here. This is my desktop. This is where I saved the file, so now if I want, I gotta make sure that I'm not on default. Slam this over there, and I'm just gonna come up here, And I got a million windows open. I want that one. Okay, so I'm not in default. I'm going to change. I'm just going to replace the medium knob here with the one I just created. So I'm just going to click and drop and drag. Of course, you can do this any other way and replace file and destination. Okay, and as I said before, I have to close and restart SynthEdit. So I'm just going to do that real quick. And I'm going to save the file right to my desktop. I'll call this minimal graphics documentation. Okay, so now I can close SynthEdit and reopen it. And I'm going to reopen the minimal graphics documentation. Okay, so now that it's restarted, I can right click here, and actually I'm going to bring in a knob first. So I think what happened, we'll find out, is did it change the standard controls? I believe it does. I'm not 100% sure. So knob, no, it didn't. Okay, which is fine. So I'm just going to delete that, and actually I got to change the skin first. So let's do that again, and we'll go knob, and then we'll jump over here and change skin to minimal. And yeah, it did. So now the standard control, the not so custom control, actually changed its graphic. However, this is not really what we want. We want a subcontrol. So I'm just going to delete that. And in order to build a subcontrol, I have a couple components here. So just drag this over here and make some space, because this is obviously going to be controlling something. What it's going to control, I'm not 100% sure yet. So there's no super defined way of doing a lot of things in SynthEdit. However, you'll learn your practice there. I learned my practice. So we want to start with an image. And again, I might have to just give you a BRB screen, as I don't know what's going to open. Okay, and then I want to navigate to the C drive and users, public documents, and SynthEdit projects. Okay, from there I guess I can show a screen. So again, after clicking the three dots here beside the file name on the image module, navigate to my skins folder, which is under C drive, users, public documents, SynthEdit projects, and skins. And then we go into the minimal file we created earlier, and we want to go to our new knob, which is also knob medium. So we open that, and we can see we have a file here now. We can wiggle it as its response right now. So most response auto, we go vertical. This is the difference here. So up and down, and horizontal, so it'll be left and right, which is, I don't believe everybody uses, I'm pretty sure it's vertical. And then click, so click, it just jumps. And rotary, this was the old one, so that kind of follows the mouse around, and this really bothers people because everybody's kind of used to this vertical up and down. In the past, a lot of plugins used to follow this rotary, and newer users have gotten used to the vertical. I'm not sure what auto is. It must be reading the file. So it must be following whatever the description is. And step, it looks like I just keep clicking it, it'll probably start over again, yeah. So what we want is vertical. Or auto, because the text file already tells the image that it's vertical. So from here we want something to control, or somewhere to store the value that's being changed. So we bring in attachment float, and then from there we can connect animation position, and this will now control the internal mechanism here, the value. So So if we go halfways here and we look back at our patch memory float, we're at about halfways. And then if we go to our panel, we can see our knob. And it will control the internal value there from 0 to 10. Right now it's set, that's the range that's set, 0, low, 10, high. So say we want a readout of what that 0 to 10. So we go conversion, and we go float to text, and we also have a decimal place there. I'm not sure if I covered that in the past. And we also want somewhere in here is text entry. It's just hiding behind my chat box here. And it looks like we're in the old view, so I'm just going to delete that and then head to the top layer and hold shift and double click. Now we're in the new view, which will make the text entry a little more compact here. That's what I wanted, instead of that large white space thing. So we want to go from value to float to value, float to text value, opposed to animation position. Animation position is just 0 to 1, and it won't actually display 0 to 10. So say if we change this to 5 to 10, the animation position will still be 0 to 1. However, internally, we only go from 5 to 10 now, so it's about 7.5 halfway. If that makes sense to you. If not, you're going to have to think about it. Okay, but we want value to float value, and then from text value to text, and then from there we have our readout. And if we head to our panel, we now have a readout. However, we want to resize this, make it look a bit better. So I'm going to grab it by the bottom handle here and move it up. Thankfully it's snapping to grid. If yours isn't snapping to grid, edit, and snap to grid should be checked. If not, it gets pretty loose, it's quite liquid. And with snap to grid we get 8 pixels per snap. So a small grid of 8 pixels. That's small, and usually what I do for these is max to 10, the maximum size here. Because this is a float, we do have half numbers. So say we want decimal place -1 will show as many decibels as required. Looks like it's defaulting at about 2. Let's say we only wanted 1 decimal place, we can put in 1. And I'm sure I've covered this before. So now we only have 1 decimal. Even if it looks like it's 7.9, we probably still got some trailing numbers there. So it's not precise. Let's keep that in mind. And we can also go as far as, like, say, 5 decimal places. Alright, for now, -1 should be fine. Do not go past -1. Say, for instance, -2 in the past that has crashed SynthEdit. I don't know if it still does that. I'm going to save. Speaking of crashing. Alright, so now we have an outline here. Also, I'm going to resize this bottom half here to make it a little bit smaller. I do believe it's generally good to use an odd spacing, so I'm going to squeeze it right down. We got 8 and 16 and 24, 32. 32 plus 8 is 50? 40. Okay, but however, if we squeeze it back down, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's an odd number of steps, which is what, 40, right? The reason I do that is so that it looks centered. If we do something like even, so that's 4 steps, we can't quite get it centered. So if we go an odd number, we can center it better, and that should be enough space to fit all of our numbers in. And it looks neat. The 32 by 32 is actually an odd number as well. It would be what, 3, 8, 16, 24, 32 now, so that's another even number, which would make it hard to center. However, it's sitting fine now. From there we can add a title. So I'm going to get into patch memory text. This will hold the name. However, we don't want this to show up in automation, so we're just going to go private. And I want another text entry. Copy that, paste. And it looks like we're starting to get a little squished for space. here and we'll go value to text, and then in the text here we want to put our title, so maybe perhaps we can call this attack, which would be value attack. So now that'll be displayed there, and we want to go into this text entry here, click text entry, and we'll go writable and uncheck that. Otherwise we can actually change the name. So it looks like we're still at 5 spaces, which is good, it'll snap nicely. And if writable is on, we can actually change, this. And we don't want our end user doing that, because this will just change the label, and then the label won't match, and yeah, or they'll just end up putting gibberish in there. Who knows? However, we want it to be attack, and then we turn off writable, and now the end user cannot change the text that's in there. So let's tighten this up a bit and move this, and maybe tighten it a little bit more. Have a look in here and zoom. I'm using my mouse gestures to zoom here, so it looks like we're about 2 pixels apart. Alright, so we can move this around. Now that it's built, before I connect it to anything, I actually want to containerize this in itself, just so it's not taking up so much space here in the DSP structure view. So I'm just going to use the bounding box with the left click and highlight everything inside the bounding box, and then I'm going to right click one of the modules that are highlighted and go to more and containerize selection. Now everything is inside this container. So I'm going to go controls on module just so I can see what's going on, and I'm going to go controls on parent just so we can see it on the parent. And I have discussed this in the controls, sub-controls documentation, so that was a brief there about getting stuff on the panel and using the communication between modules for controls on module. Right now everything's inside here, so doesn't actually need the controls on module. However, I like the controls on module just so I can see what's going on. So now I'm going to delete this IO mod in, and I'm going to take this patch memory float, which is controlling our value here, 0 to 10, and we're going to send that out. And now we have it on the outside here, and we're going to send that to attack. And that will now control our attack. Just for proof prove it here, I'm just going to grab this keyboard and drop it inside here. This is a alternate control, and we right click, panel edit. We actually have the keyboard here now, and I think I just activated MIDI. 1 second, I'm just going to save, panel edit. It does have this quirk where you can't see where it's moving, so I'm just going to right click and hold shift and click panel edit. Now we're in the old view, so now I can kind of stick this keyboard somewhere better. I can see as it's moving. Of course it doesn't snap. And I'm just going to stretch it over here, and even more this way. And then we're going to X that, head back into the new view. You can see it here, and we're just going to stretch it a little bit more. Of course, you can't see it stretching. I'm just going to resize everything so it's snapping on the grid. But of course, we can't see that, unfortunately. And still not. That's fine, I guess. Not sure what's going on here. Okay, there. Now it's on. It's actually overloaded. And it's disappeared now. Everything disappeared. Okay. That's fine. Just trying to get some proof happening here for the attack. So I'm going to save, and we're going to start the audio engine. MIDI device set up. That's fine. We got our on-screen keyboard. So I don't know how this is going to sound. I'm pretty sure it's set to saw. Brace yourself. Move our attack up a bit here, we'll go about halfways. Most of the ways, got a bit of a pad. Alright, so that's knob. And that was pretty much the steps for getting a custom graphic in. Now there is a difference between the graphics, I do want to point out. So I'm just going to shrink my screen down a bit here and look for example this slider. So if we look at the slider, the text file in the slider, as well as the graphic itself, we don't have, you know, a stitched graphic. We have just the handle and the grid. And how that works is in the text file here we have a frame size. Of course, that would be just the grid. And then we have our handle rectangle, and then it starts where the grid pretty much stops. Well, there's a couple spaces there. And these 4 coordinates are the pixels, the location of the handle there. And then handle range, this is, I believe, the location between the background here, from here to there. So that's how a slider works. As well, the up and down slider is the same. It's just a vertical slider is just the bottom part and the top. So switches are just 2 steps, and if we want to switch and look at stepped, got a bit of padding, orientation, vertical, frame size, and then mouse response stepped. So there is a bit of difference between things. Also another one is the joystick. And padding, frame size. Let's look at the joystick. How do we get to this? Oh, it isn't there, so that's automatic, I suppose. And that's about it for that, I suppose. Background can be anything. You know, it usually gets tiled. There is no, doesn't look like a background text file. Yeah, that pretty much covers it. Of course, we got a view meter here. And needle. So that must have its own type of behavior, I'm sure. It's a little more in-depth. What does read me? Making your own skins. Do not change the default skin. Add a new folder to the skins directory. The folder name is your new skins name. Copy any of the skin bitmap you want to change to your new directory. Each bitmap has a text file with the same name. It describes the skin. The mask file is optional. It contains transparency information. A simpler way to use transparency is the keyword transparent _ pixel xy in the text file. This tells SynthEdit which pixel contains a transparent color. Then use a paint program to edit each of the bitmap files. Keep your new skins the same size as the originals. This will allow you to change skins without having to rearrange all of your controls. You may need to restart SynthEdit to see your changes. Font face size and color are controlled by the global.txt. Image options: mouse response, click vertical, rotary, horizontal, stepped, reverse vertical. Interesting. Never knew about reverse vertical. Perhaps I should have started with that. One of the other things that I did want to look at was mentioned here was the fonts. Okay, so we're going to head back to SynthEdit, and we're going to change the font of our heading here. So say we want a different heading back to, if I still have it open, yes I do. If we want some of these other ones, there's not a lot to choose from, generally just the headings, and heading 3 looks fine. I believe heading 2 is supposed to have an underline, but it's just not there. So we're going to go with heading 3. And in order to do that, we're going to go to the text entry here on top, and under style, normal, we're just going to type HEADING space 3. So now we can see it changed here. However, it hasn't quite changed here yet, so we're going to close that, and we're going to go right click, panel edit, and there. It's changed there now. And just to be a little bit experimental, we can look at, back in here, we're going to look at a different one. We'll go TTY, just to really show it off. So TTY, you can see it completely changed. It looks something that's outer space almost, like it doesn't match this at all. However, that's just to demonstrate. Change it back to heading 3. So, I'm not sure how I did my title card. I will now save this and drop a title card here. And we're going to look at a bit of we're going to look at an intermediate documentation. So this intermediate documentation will be reorder pins. Rehearsal. Alright, so the concept here is reordering pins already on containers. So a lot of times there is this problem with different needs for sends and stuff, and things start to get pretty disorganized. So for example here, say we have our 4 controls here, all in this one container. This is just an example. So we have 4 controls. Actually, I should be arranging them as I go, just so they're not getting all over the place. Okay. Sustain. Yeah, it doesn't quite fit the screen, that's fine. And of course, lastly, release. Alright, so we're going to work backwards here. For that, this, so to realign this. In fact, I'm going to push these guys 2 bigger. So 1, 2, and 1, 2, just to get this from looking all squished. And I don't want that. Can't unselect. Okay. Put that there and over. So look at it. Look funny. And now something happened with the grid snapping. Looks like too much space here. Alright, so that's just essentially reset these. Who knows where they are. Alright, so we have these nicely lined up, but imagine for a second we did sustain first, and release, and then attack, and then decay. So now everything is all jumbled. So I'm just going to connect these properly in here. Attack is first. And decay is second. Just going to click and go up and decay. Sustain is third. And release is last. Alright, so I mean that's not really that big of a deal at this point. However, down the road when you start to get these big columns and everything's unordered, it becomes quite annoying. So let me look at that. Alright, so how do we rearrange these? I mean, we could, disconnect from here and then disconnect from here and reroute everything. In my experience, I've found it better to take this and right click, and we're going to containerize this. It's a containerized selection. You can still see it's unordered, which is fine. I'm going to hold shift and double click to head inside the panel here. So now we see it's ordered here. However, that's not exactly what we're thinking. So again, I'm just going to get rid of this IO. We're going to right click and containerize it one more time. Okay, so now we have a ribbon here, or 4 patches, and I'm just going to use the bounding box to select just the patches, and then I'm going to hit delete. And we're going to head into this container, of course erase the IO mod, and then move this over, and again erase just the patches. So using the bounding box, select the patches, delete. Now we see we lost all of our IO mods, so now we can put them in order. So we go attack, decay, sustain, and release. And on the outside, we are now in the proper order. However, we have to uncontainerize this. So on the very inside here, I'm going to right click and we're going to go more and uncontainerize. So now everything's in order, looks fine. Close that. Bring this over here, we're going to go controls on module, controls on parent, make it like it was, and go attack, decay, sustain, release. And we're going to close this, and we're now on the top level. And we're going to click this container, right click, move or more, and uncontainerize. There. Now we are sorted. Best practice is to do your sorting in advance. However, if you can't, if you're just working fast and you just got to get some ideas out, do it as you would. If you're going to be cloning things, do your best to, do this, for your first one. And then you do your cloning, at least you'll be in order after that. So that is a bit of an intermediate tip. And as is, that was actually a pretty decent rehearsal, so I think I'm just going to keep it there. And yeah, I'm going to end the video here, the stream. Until next time. A little bit of problems with Twitch just bumping it, so it stops recording internally on its servers, whatever. Until next time.